Hello and welcome to Sharpening Her Edge. This is Dr. Susan Hughes, and this is episode 10 in season 2. The cost of constant accessibility. So, what is the true cost of being available? Not the financial cost, not the emotional cost, or the creative cost, or even the physical cost. Perhaps the greatest cost. The life you never create because you never left enough room for it. So this is a personal episode of this podcast, but there's a lot of lessons to be learned in here. So let's kind of walk through them. Today, I want to challenge you. One of the biggest lies that high achievers believe: being available makes me valuable, makes me feel important. Bull! Being constantly available does not necessarily make you more available, does not necessarily make you more valuable. So let's walk through that. Sometimes it just makes you exhausted. So, my story. For years, I practiced obstetrics. I started off after medical school doing an OB-GYN residency. I did 18 months of that, realized I never wanted to do another hysterectomy as long as I lived. I hated the surgical aspect. I was a female left-handed surgeon, and that was not acceptable in the residency where it's at. I loved delivering babies. So I made the natural transition to family medicine, where I could continue delivering babies and take care of the babies afterwards and provide longitudinal care. Absolute best decision for me. So for years, nearly 20 years, I delivered babies. Babies are not convenient. How many of you on this podcast listening here have had a baby? Do they come between 9 and 5? They do not. They come on weekends, evenings, holidays, and whenever they dang well please, because they're babies. And I love delivering babies. I delivered over 3,000 of them. But doing obstetrics is not a normal job. You're always waiting. You're always listening. And always wondering, will the pager go off? Dinner? Maybe. Vacation? Also maybe. Sleep? Hopefully. The thing is, you never completely belong to yourself. You belong to everyone else's emergency. And I convinced myself, I convinced myself that that's what good doctors do. So let's talk about the invisible load and apply this. Here's what no one talks about. Even when no one calls when you're on call, your nervous system never completely rests. You're always partially on. You're always scanning. You're anticipating. You're preparing. You need to make sure that you're within 15 minutes of the hospital. You know, that little event down the road that you wanted to take your kids to that's a half an hour away? Nah, you couldn't do it because you had to be within 15 minutes. You were always preparing and anticipating, and that invisible vigilance becomes normal until you forget what peace looks like. You know, I think many women live exactly the same way, and not because they're physicians. Many of you on here are not physicians, but because you're moms, because you're parents, your leaders, your business owners, your caregivers, your employees. Everyone has access to you. How many of you get those texts, emails, Slack, Teams, social media, old school phone calls? Sometimes even DMs. And the thing is, everyone expects an immediate response. After all, this is the McDonald's time, isn't it? None of this waiting for your meal. They want it instantly. They want instant access to you. and somehow urgent becomes everyone's default setting. So I want to share another story, a concierge medicine story. Recently, I was talking with a physician friend who is opening a concierge practice. I was just giving her some advice on the side. And one of her promises was, I'm going to provide 24 hours a day, 7 days a week availability. And I understand that appeal. Patients appreciate access. Doctors want to provide exceptional care. But my question wasn't about business. It was about sustainability. Can truly someone be available 24/7, 365 days, without paying a price? Eventually somebody pays, usually the physician. Sometimes their family. Okay, always their family. Sometimes their health. I want to talk to you about a moment that changed everything. So, Robert and I had our firstborn. Due to complications, I was told, yeah, well, you're one and done. We're not doing that again. So having another baby wasn't an option. But we were always open to adoption. And we had been talking about adoption for a while. We desperately wanted to become parents again. We really wanted 2 children and not have an only child. But every time we discussed it, there was one enormous elephant in the room. One spoken question. How could I be on call all the time and also be the mother I wanted to be? Then one day, I was finally ready to give up obstetrics. You know, we as a group, one of the physicians gave up obstetrics the year beforehand. We were going to do that as the test case, and then we're going to have the rest of us give up obstetrics the next year, depending on that. So we as a group decided we were going to give up obstetrics because it was not sustainable. And because of the insurance, we had to give it, the calendar year. So we were going to give up OB December 31st. Now, mind you, Robert and I had been talking about adopting a baby for quite some time. But when I said, I'm ready to give up OB, is when he said he is ready to move forward with adoption. Wow. You know, the thing is, he didn't give me an ultimatum. He did not. My God, that man is patient. Yes, he has to be. He's married to me. He waited very patiently for me to come to that conclusion on my own, even though he is the logical engineer, had come to that conclusion long before me. He gave me clarity. And for that moment, for that first time in that scenario, I realized I couldn't keep saying yes to one dream without saying no to another. So let's talk about the real cost. Leaving obstetrics was heartbreaking. Or so I thought. Or maybe it was just the illusion of leaving obstetrics. It was part of my identity. It was part of my purpose. It was part of who I thought I was. But creating boundaries, creating space for our daughter. Our favorite daughter. I always call her my favorite daughter, and our son is my favorite son. Creating that space gave us a different future. It gave me space for a different version of me. You know, our daughter didn't arrive because I became more productive. She arrived because I became more available for the life we actually want. So, interestingly, I thought that I would really miss obstetrics. It had been such a big part of my life for so long. And one of my mentors had given up obstetrics a couple years beforehand. She told me she didn't miss it at all. I didn't believe her. Until I gave it up. And you know what? I did not miss it at all. I was shocked. I loved my OB patients. I loved delivering babies, but the cost to me was too much. So the leadership lesson in here, this isn't just about medicine. It's about leadership. Because every yes that you say, create, make occupies space. Every commitment consumes your attention. Every notification steals a little focus. And when we are endlessly accessible, we become inaccessible to ourselves, to our partners, to our children, to our families, to our creativity, to our health, and to our future. Boundaries aren't walls. They're invitations. They tell your life this matters too. So, questions for reflection that I want you to think about. 3 questions. Today, I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. 1, where am I available simply because I've always been? 2, who has unlimited access to me? They probably shouldn't. 3, and perhaps the hardest question, what future am I postponing because I have not protected enough space for it? So the goal is not to care less. That's not what this is about. It's about caring more intentionally. You don't have to be available every minute to make an extraordinary impact. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give the people you love is becoming unavailable long enough to become fully present. Because clarity changes everything. And sometimes the life that you've always been waiting for is waiting on the other side of one courageous boundary. So, what I'd like to have you do, if this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell everybody. And don't forget to grab the free link, which is giving you insight to your invisible load. It's in the comments. Thank you.